Hey guys, and welcome to another huge episode of Triggered. We've also got a great show for you tonight because joining me is Florida gubernatorial candidate, Congressman Byron Donalds. My father's pick, my pick for the next governor of Florida. And there's a lot to get into, a lot to cover. So guys, make sure first and foremost that you're liking, sharing, and subscribing, okay? Like it so that other people get it out there. Share this with your friends. Subscribe so you never miss one of these major episodes. If you do miss the show here on Rumble, catch the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts. If your friends get their podcast that way, make sure they are aware, okay? You guys are the first line of defense in getting the word and the truth out there. For all of the top headlines that we cover on the show, go check out my news app, MXM News, where you can get the mainstream news without the mainstream bias. And of course, a huge thank you to our sponsors for having the guts to support this program. Washington debates are complicated. This one isn't. Cell phone carriers use mobile locking to trap your phone on their network, keeping you stuck with high prices when switching could save you $1,000 a year. Americans are fed up. 93% of voters say switching carriers should be easy, and about as easy as keeping your number. You should be able to take your phone without being locked into the rules, okay? If you agree, speak up. Tell officials you want hashtag cell phone freedom, okay? Cell phone freedom, paid for by the Bull Moose Project. Again, that's hashtag cell phone freedom. And remember to check out Polymarket, where real people are putting real money on what's going to happen next. On Polymarket, you can actually get real odds on what's likely to happen, frankly, on just about anything. Polymarket is a prediction market where people trade on real events, elections, debates, policy moves, just about everything. And it doesn't stop at politics, okay? There are markets on the economy, tech, sports, pop culture, and so much more. It's all live. It's transparent. It gives you a real-time indicator of what people really think is going to happen. So give it a look at polymarket.com. Guys, before we get to Byron, I do have to say a few words about the late Senator Lindsey Graham. Now, everyone knows Lindsey and my father didn't exactly start out as friends. He ran against him in 2016. There were some shots fired in both directions. I think it was my father held up Lindsey Graham's cell phone number at a public event, which, needless to say, was clipped and went viral. I think he had to change his number within a few minutes. But he became one of my father's, closest allies in Washington. The golf course, the late night phone calls, the fights they took on together, and it's moments like this that really mattered. When a moment counted, he actually showed up. Perhaps his finest hour was his defense of Justice Brett Kavanaugh.
None. She's as much of a victim as you are. God, I hate to say it, because these have been my friends. But let me tell you, when it comes to this, you're looking for a fair process. You came to the wrong town at the wrong time, my friend. Do you consider this a job interview?
The advice and consent role is like...
One thing I can tell you, you should be proud of. Ashley, you should be proud of this, that you raised a daughter who had the good character to pray for Dr. Ford. To my Republican colleagues, if you vote no, you're legitimizing the most despicable thing I have seen in my time in politics. You want this seat? I hope you never get it. I hope you're on the Supreme Court. That's exactly where you should be. And I hope that the American people will see through this charade. And I wish you well, and I intend to vote for you, and I hope everybody who's fair-minded will.
Did we agree on everything? Definitely not. Okay, Lindsey and I had plenty of spirited debates face-to-face. He was definitely one of the funniest people in all of politics, really just a funny guy in general. Didn't mean we had to agree on anything, but for the vast majority of the time, he showed up when it mattered. But again, did we agree on everything? No. Lindsey never met a foreign policy debate. He wanted to sit out, and we went, again, a few rounds over the years, but you always knew exactly where he stood. He told you to your face. Here was my father yesterday reflecting on his legacy.
What are your thoughts about Lindsey Graham this morning? Well, it's devastating. I thought he was fine. He called me last night. He just got back from Ukraine, and he had a great trip. He was telling me about the trip. He was pushing very, very hard. You probably know he wanted to do the Save America Act. That he was talking about that. He was full of vim and vigor. He was tired. He said, "I'm tired because it's a long trip," but other than that, he was fine. And he called me, I guess, just moments before, because he called me like at 6:30 or something, and the medical people got there a little bit later, right after that. What a terrible loss it is. He's a great politician. He was a natural. There are very few of them. He was a natural politician. Got along with everybody. When he didn't, he was very tough. He was a tough cookie too, but he got along with everybody.
Rest in peace, Senator. And guys, keep his family and the people of South Carolina in your prayers. And Lindsey spent his final hours pushing to secure American elections with the Save America Act, because everything we talk about flows downstream from secure elections, including how the swamp spends your money. So the rest of the Senate needs to think about that for a minute, okay? And do something that is basically a 90-10 issue across the board. Everyone, which is actually hard to believe. There are no 90-10 issues in this world other than maybe like oxygen, okay? We need oxygen. In politics, that's probably still 90-10, amazingly enough. Like, it's almost unheard of. This should be the baseline. This should be the thing we all agree on, just like we need to stop fraud in any form, anywhere. So let's talk about one of the biggest fraud rings you've ever heard of. Social adult daycares. Yes, guys, adult daycares. Dr. Oz, who runs Medicare and Medicaid, teamed up with independent journalist Nick Shirley. Both have been on the show. They went to Flushing, Queens, in New York, an epicenter for these things. Dozens of centers packed into a single neighborhood. In Queens alone, social adult daycare generates $2.1 billion. Okay? It's hard to believe. Check this out.
This is a war on fraud, the likes of which you have never seen.
I feel like Johnny Cash. I've been everywhere, man. I've been to California, Iowa, Ohio, Minnesota, today, New York City, Flushing, Queens. We take you to the front lines wherever we're going. Here, social adult daycare centers, the biggest fraud you've never heard of. I walk through here and I wonder, how is it possible that you would have this many pharmacies in such close proximity to each other? And we're gonna start counting. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so we got one here.
One right there.
Number two, look at this. This is the durable medical equipment supplier. Those are all the things they sell, wheelchairs and automatic scooters. These are expensive. Then we have another pharmacy. I'm losing track. Yeah, it's like a game show. You get a pharmacy, you get a pharmacy.
And we have a all-life social daycare right here.
Another social adult daycare center. But over here, we have a bunch more across the street.
Across the street.
And I mean, again, more pharmacies.
More pharmacies.
This business entity, this social adult daycare center, which I'm pretty sure none of your listeners have ever heard of, right? It generated $2.5 billion over the last 3 years in New York State, of which almost all, $2.1 billion, was right here in Flushing, Queens, and Brooklyn next door, and the surrounding areas. You go 10 miles to Long Island from here, doesn't exist, doesn't happen. So if you're me, and I'm supposed to protect the federal tax dollars, it makes you very concerned. Something's wrong when all the money's spent in one place, and what the problem is, it's now starting to metastasize. This bad idea, the fraud, is starting to spread. If you're a fraudster, run, because we are coming after you.
Think about how this scam works, guys. These centers get seniors in the door with gift cards and freebies. They sign them up and then bill you, the American taxpayer, through Medicaid. The feds are now investigating across New York, and this is exactly what the war on fraud looks like, because every dollar stolen by a fraudster is a dollar that never reaches a senior who actually needs the help. If you want to know where the fraud mindset leads, look at what Democratic Socialists of America just put in writing. Their brand new party platform calls for amnesty for every illegal alien in the country, defunding the Department of Defense, and replacing the president and the Supreme Court. Now, You think, oh, the Democrat Socialists of America, no big deal. Guess what? They're like the main people in the Democrat Party these days. It's not a fringe party anymore. They're winning major elections and major primaries, running as Democrats now. That's not me characterizing it. That is their own platform, in their own words. Check this out.
Who is representing people of America on the Hill? They want to eliminate the U.S. Senate. They want to replace the president and the U.S. Supreme Court with an executive and judiciary chosen by a subordinate to Congress. They want amnesty for all immigrants. And they want to defund the Department of War.
This is according to a source inside the DSA.
Yeah, but the main point is that there was this massive talking point that this is just liberal states and, liberal districts where this is happening. I'm sorry. This is happening all across the country. And they have some platforms that a lot of young people and a lot of people that have grievances with the rich are going with. It's anti-American, it's anti-Jew, it's anti-Israel, it's anti the foundation of how this country was built. They believe that our country is deeply flawed, and they're winning. So you got to have a Republican Party that speaks truth to power on all of it. They don't even want the police. They don't want any borders. One candidate said, I don't care if they committed a crime and they're a legal immigrant. You still should not be able to deport them. Oh. So we're not talking about reasonable people, but you got to make the case because these young people are showing up to vote. And the college educated, I know there were some headlines about us talking about the other day, but these college educated people have been indoctrinated and they're not rational. They don't understand the markets. They don't understand any of that. They understand this new world order and they're voting for this as well. So we got to start focusing back on the college campuses again.
And some are framing this as sort of a east to west wave. It's not. It is a tide rising all around us. These candidates have been erupting, have been fomenting all across the country. You're absolutely right. Starting with college campuses, city councils, mayors, district attorneys, etc. So they are all around you. They are all around us, and it is abjectly frightening.
Remember when they called us conspiracy theorists for saying that socialists wanted to fundamentally transform America? Remember that? I do. They're not hiding it anymore, guys. They're saying the quiet parts out loud. They wrote it down. It's basically communism, all right? And this is not some fringe weekly book club group. This is the organization behind the mayor of New York City and a growing block of Democrats in Congress and congressional primaries that they've won. Open the borders, disarm the military, and concentrate all the power in one body that they control. So the next time the left tells you socialism is just, social justice, pull up this document and show it to them. And it's why elections matter. And supporting candidates who support you matters. Don't get complacent. Don't take anything for granted. Whether you're in a red state, a blue state, or a purple state, it all matters. It all adds up. It's all accretive. And our apathy could cost us our country. And that brings me to my guest today, because down in my new adopted home state of Florida, there's a race going on that might be the most important governor's race in America. Byron Donalds, you know him well, friend of the show, friend of my family, congressman from Southwest Florida. And in February of last year, my father gave him the complete and total endorsement to be the next governor of Florida. And since then, the sheriffs are with him, the police chiefs are with him, most of the Republicans in the state legislature are with him. And the primary is coming up on August 18th ahead of the general election on November 3rd. Well, guys, joining me now, Florida gubernatorial candidate Congressman Byron Donalds, obviously of Florida, the Trump-endorsed candidate for governor, and obviously just a great friend. Byron, great to have you back on the show.
It's good to be back with you, man.
Okay, so, we're getting into the season. You got primaries coming up, you get a big election season this fall. So let's talk about this campaign of yours, because you've been everywhere. Hialeah, one day Orlando, the next burger joints, churches, county fairs. I know you woke up at about 3 a.m. just last week to do the, inaugural landing of Trump Force One at the new DJT airport, formerly PBI, Palm Beach International. So you've been all over the place. So paint the picture for the people. What does a day in the life of this campaign actually look like? And, maybe what's the best meal? Because I know they feed you along the way at all of these damn events. So what's the best meal, and how much weight have you gained?
Well, I'm gonna go in reverse order. The weight is actually maintained. We've done a good job of that. Kind of watched it. The truth is, we go to these events and there's a lot of food, but I barely get a chance to eat any of it because you're shaking hands, you're talking to people. People got questions. They want to introduce themselves. I'm glad that they would choose to do that because it means that you're resonating on the ground. So I actually don't get a chance to eat at most of these events. The best meal I've ever had at one, it was the Hillsborough County Cattlemen's Association. And when the cattlemen's do a deal, they cook the steaks right out on the grill, bring them into you. So I had a medium ribeye. It was excellent. Only way the cattlemen's do their steaks. But, other than that, we're just on the road. In terms of the day, man, it's 7 a.m. to midnight every single day, nonstop, 7, 8 events a day. And then when I'm not doing that, I'm back in Washington on Capitol Hill.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's the part a lot of people probably forget. You're running a campaign, but you're also still, very active congressman out there doing all the things. And, in this time, that's got to be pretty crazy as well.
Very, but that's all right. It's a moment in time. It's a season in time. And, really, I'm just in a blessed position because to be this far along in the race is going really well. You're burning the candles at both ends, but it's worth it, man. Because when you have an opportunity to take on a large responsibility, a very important responsibility, you can't be complaining about how many hours you're having to leave the lights on. So we do the work every single day.
Well, especially, as you go from congressman to, governor, God willing, a lot changes, especially in a place like Florida where you have a lot of, natural disasters, you have hurricane seasons. I mean, it is a 24/7 job.
Yeah, obviously we're a hurricane-prone state. Everybody knows that. So you always have to be ready at any given moment. But then there's the positive sides of the job. Look, Florida is the best state in the country. The size of our economy, we just went from number 15 in the world to number 14. We are on our way to number 10. And then you have all of the economic opportunities that are going to go along with that. Commercial space around Cape Canaveral, the fact that so much of the finance world is actually moving to Florida. I believe we're going to be a major financial hub in the Western Hemisphere in a decade. And then you have to balance all of that. We still have agriculture, which is critical to our state. Obviously, our conservation areas, our fishing areas. Don, I know you love to fish, you love to hunt. So do so many Floridians. We want to make sure we preserve that for the future of our state while having to figure out how we build new roads and new housing that's going to be built and new infrastructure around industry that's going to be built. So it's a great job, a lot of stuff to balance, manage, and work through, but I'm ready for the challenge.
Yeah, it's one of those funny ones, with all the people, migrating over here. I was one of them like 5 or 6 years ago. And, while I came here my whole life, it was like a second home. But now that it's my primary home, I'm like, hey, all those New Yorkers like, no, winter's awesome up there. You should really just stay. Just stay. The traffic's gotten a little bit problematic, but, I guess you got to figure all of it out, right?
Yeah, we'll figure it out. I think, in order to really manage it, we're going to have some regional growth planning. So let's take South Florida, Palm Beach, Broward County, Miami-Dade County. Historically, they've kind of always just worried about their county. But today, that's not the case. I mean, this, if you live in Palm Beach County, you might have a business meeting in Broward, a dinner in Miami-Dade. Your kids are in school during the day. You want to meet up with a buddy down in Las Olas and Fort Lauderdale. And so it's really about how do people commute between the Tri-County area through that region of Florida so people can get to work, get home, get their kids, see their friends, enjoy the environment, and really have that quality of life that everybody loves and enjoys in Florida. So, we're going to have to work through those growing pains. There's some road systems that got to be built out, some new innovations that we got to work through, but it's about maintaining that quality of life that people have come to know and love in Florida.
Yeah, because I live just 15 miles north of Palm Beach, just up in Jupiter, and sometimes it's a 20-minute drive, and sometimes it's an hour and 20-minute drive, and it just to get to Palm Beach, which is you never would have even thought that. Even in the summers, everyone usually fled, and people are just here year round now. So yeah, no, it's a big puzzle, but I imagine you guys will be all over that one.
Absolutely, looking forward to it too.
So, Byron, let's rewind the tape a little bit for those of you, who are watching and don't necessarily know, because you actually have this sort of incredible childhood story. Frankly, it's an incredible American dream story. Was there a moment growing up that you thought, yeah, I could be running for governor of Florida someday? I mean, you're a New York boy, Brooklyn, I guess, right? And I guess everyone down here is from Brooklyn at this point. I think I married the one girl who was actually born in Florida, in all of Florida. But what can you do?
Listen, man, in every room I go into, there's somebody from Brooklyn. They're just the way it is. There's somebody from Brooklyn, and then you get somebody who does a shout out. What about Queens? Now I'm like, it's okay. What about the Bronx? That we never went up there much. But that's all right. But I never thought about politics as a kid. It was never a part of my dreams. When I was really young, I wanted to be a pro basketball player. That's what I wanted to do. And then in high school, I decided, you know what? I think I want to go into finance. And I did that, and I graduated from Florida State with a degree in finance. But politics was never the dream. It was never the thing that I was shooting for as a kid. My mom, she raised me by herself. My dad, I know my dad, but he wasn't around. So we were a single parent household. My mom has 2 other daughters. So she was doing everything that she could to make ends meet between my sisters and myself. And it was a tough upbringing, but a simple one. In early New York at that time, it was the crack epidemic. You're having to basically dodge the gangs on your way to school. I remember when Rudy Giuliani came in, the streets got cleaned up. They got a lot safer. And then before you know it, I was on a Greyhound bus to Florida to go to college. And I had my ups and downs when I got to Florida, made a bunch of stupid mistakes when I was 18, 19, and 20. And it was actually
we all did. It just
who got me. Yeah,
you're a bit younger than me. I always say, thank God we didn't have cell phone video cameras in our pockets when we're going through those years, right? Because it's a conversation I have to have with my kids all the time, because it's like, hey guys, there's no second chances anymore. The internet's forever.
That's right. It's better not to post. just don't do it. It's not worth it.
Leave the phones at home.
You live and you learn, you grow. And so my life is a life of redemption, and to be in this position now really is a blessing.
Also, tell me a little bit about Erica and the boys. 3 sons. What's that conversation like around the kitchen table when Dad's running for governor? Who in that house does the best job of keeping you humble in all of this?
Well, who keeps me the most humble is Erica. I mean,
I've seen it.
I'll come off the campaign trail, and then there's a honey-do list waiting for me. She'll be like, yeah, that was great. Everybody wanted to shake your hand. I need these things done in my house. So she's the one that keeps everybody humble. I think with the kids, no, really not even the kids anymore. My oldest is 22. My middle one's 18. So they're men. And then my youngest son is 15. And so the conversations I try to have with them are much more about them. And what's going on in their lives. I mean, the campaign comes up. It's all encompassing, so it comes up, or they'll see something on social media and they'll ask me about it, and we'll have a laugh about it. But I really try to just find out what's going on in their lives, because I signed up for politics, they didn't. And I still want to make sure that they're on the right track to accomplish their dreams.
Yeah, I know a little bit about that one, but it is all encompassing, right? It's like when family's in a fight, all of a sudden everyone's in a fight, whether they chose to or not, and so That can always be an interesting one. So if they ever need to speak to someone who's been there and done that at this point, have them call me, because I'm a decent sounding board, because it can be frustrating as hell. I can tell you that.
No, I'll make sure that happens. I know my oldest son, he'll definitely want to talk to you.
So, Byron, take me back, February last year. My father gives you the complete and total endorsement sort of right out of the gate, because you've just been, such a great supporter of ours, so helpful for him in Washington, and even during the 4-year period of time where, a lot of people that were friends during the first term, they read the articles, it's never coming back. It's a crazy world. There's not a lot of loyalty. What's the best piece of advice, though, in all that process that perhaps he's given you before or since, throwing your hat in the ring in this ring?
Oh, man, your dad said to me after he gave me the endorsement that this is not the end, it's not a beginning. Now that you have it, you got to go and work your ass off. That's literally what he said to me. Mm-hmm. And he was right. I think that obviously his endorsement is the best in politics, bar none. Everybody knows it. But when you have it, I think sometimes there's this thought that you can kind of sit back and rest, and you really can't. When you have it, you have to go press the envelope, and it has to be full throttle. And so I've been running for governor now for almost 17 months, and it's been full throttle ever since your dad gave me his endorsement.
Yeah, and I've seen that a lot, man. Guys are like, oh, I got the endorsement. Now I'm just going to sit back and like hope it miracles itself into an existence. And it doesn't work. Like our voters are smart. The endorsements, it's a great badge of honor. It means a lot. It gives them a lot of security. But if they're not seeing you put in the time and the work and and everything that it requires, they see through that. And I've seen a couple of these guys, they get it. They're longtime friends. They were pretty good for a while, and they get it. And they're like, now I'm going to skate into this thing. It's never quite so simple.
No, listen, I don't think you skate into anything. No matter how many advantages you have at your disposal, you still got to work. You got to press every advantage you got, because nothing's done until it's done. And so in the campaign, that's what we always tell our guys. Nothing's done until it's done. I don't care what the press is saying. Let's just make sure that we're focused on the week that we're in. Let's win this week. And then as you start stacking weeks, you can look back and be like, oh man, look how much we accomplished. So we really have a no-nonsense approach internally in the campaign. And I got to tell you, a lot of that was really picked up watching the president's campaign, being a top surrogate on that campaign. And even in the primaries where there were a ton of advantages, it was as if internally, it was as if you were fighting and clawing for every inch.
Yeah, I ran every day like we're 10 points back.
Yeah.
Every day you're 10 points back, even if you're 30 points ahead. It's like none of it matters. You just got to keep going.
Yeah, that's it.
So, you've got the sheriffs, you've got the police chiefs behind you. Florida Republican and independent voters are supporting you more and more every day. Obviously still outgrounding there literally every second of the time. What are you not taking for granted in all of this?
Not taking for granted. That's a good one, because I'm kind of neurotic. I'm too competitive.
Yeah.
So like nothing is taken for granted, and I'm serious. No matter how much money we raise, I'm on the phone with people who choose to support, just thanking them, sometimes overthinking them on the phone.
Yeah.
We were out knocking doors in Miami the other day, and when one guy was like, "You're out here doing this," and I said, "Sir, if I won't do it, how can I expect my team or the people who volunteer their time to do it?" So I have to do it. And so that's why we keep just such a frenetic pace that, we want to make sure that I'm not taking something for granted. The thing I try to make sure I cherish, though, is trying to have a day a week with the family. And my wife, she presses on that one hard. Her whole attitude is, look, go do whatever you got to do 6 days a week, but on Sunday, you better bring yourself into this house. And I
think those are wise words. I've seen that one go wrong too. So yeah, that's definitely, and honestly, you need that peace of mind to be able to do the other things as effectively. So I think that balance is so fundamentally critical in all of this.
Yeah.
So I guess the primary Democratic opponent, David Jolly, his resume is basically being washed up by MSNBC analysts and all of this stuff. You see the stuff, what's actually there, and then you have what's actually shown to the public. If it was a Republican resume, every one of the negatives, would be out there. So, what else should voters know about, I guess, this, very likely opponent of yours in the general?
He's a Trojan horse. He's going to be running the same campaign that Abigail Spanberger ran in Virginia, the same one Katie Hobbs ran in Arizona, where it's going to sound milquetoast, it's going to sound nice, it's going to be very boring. And that's not a bug, it's a feature. It's by design. Yeah. They want to lull the people of Florida into sleep. And I think it's important for people to understand that, yeah, he might sound nice on the trail, but if he wins, he's going to govern like a radical. And I'll give you an example. The Florida Democrat LGBTQIA, whatever the rest of them are, came out and endorsed him. Yeah. But they came out and endorsed them. And so what does that organization stand for? They want boys and girls sports. They want boys and girls bathrooms. They believe in the transgender agenda, and they're going to push hard for that. And if you look at what's happened to the Democrat Party, the socialism and the radicalism is on full display. So you have a guy who was a Democrat, independent, and Republican all within inside 3-4 years, and you think that guy's going to stand up to the radical left? I don't think so. He'll fold to the radical left, and then if he were to win, and by the way, he's not going to win, but if in some way he won, he'd fold to the radical left, and then the Florida dream, the beauty of Florida that everybody's chasing and trying to get to, that's going to start to erode, like what happens in Arizona, what's happening in Virginia, and we don't want that in Florida. So he's a Trojan horse. And I think it's important for the people of Florida to know that.
Yeah, I think that's so critical because, obviously, hey, Florida's got beautiful, wildlife and beaches and stuff like that. But, so does New England. Different kind of scenery. As a guy that was a, lifelong Northeastern boy, I actually missed some of those things. I mean, Florida has been so great because of the opportunity, the political climate, the, lack of sort of excessive regulation to everything, the freedoms that we enjoy as Americans that are being, really stripped away from us by all these Democrats all over the place. I mean, it is so fundamentally important that, these people never have an opportunity to strip that away, because you're right. You saw that in Virginia. You saw that in Arizona. You saw that in all these states. It's like, no, they're a moderate. Like every Democrat running is a moderate. Turns out there actually are no moderate Democrats in politics. There's moderate Democrats in America, and I get it. They're all over the place. They're great people. They disagree on certain things, but like they still believe fundamentally in what we believe in. You can't win a major office anymore as a Democrat without basically having to kowtow to that radical faction. And so they've run a smart playbook. Hey, the people don't really want that. Certainly the people in Florida wouldn't really want that. So we're gonna whitewash this. We're gonna make you the milquetoast, boring, and not so radical Democrat. But then they get into power. And then those favors start getting called in. Hey, we bankrolled your campaign. We expect you to do this. We want men in women's locker rooms. We want all the nonsense. And so, I don't think people can get complacent in that, because this is something, the media, has done a very good job of trying to create these people, make them seem like they're independent-minded individuals. They're not. They're all bought and paid for by the radical left, and that's the only way they can actually win a major race anymore in this country.
No, you're exactly right. And so we're going to be on guard, and we're going to just fight very hard. To me, obviously, we have about 6 weeks left in the primary season. But after that, it's going to be no holds barred. We're just going to be working every single day. I had a friend come up and they were like, well, if you win the primary, are you going to be able to take a couple days off? And I said, no. We go straight into the general and we campaign hard. I mean, right now there's about only 113, 114 days into the general election. Like, that's it. Yeah. So it's going to be all hands on deck every single day fighting for Florida. And I want to make sure Floridians don't take the blessings that we have for granted, because we're a very good state for a reason. We're the best state for a reason. You don't start switching out policy and ideology just because you think times are good. You have to reinforce them when times are good so that they get better for the future.
Yeah, and it's something, again, when I came down here as a political refugee from the People's Republic of New York, and I was worried. I saw a lot of other people that I knew in New York that were definitely far more left-leaning, than me, coming down. I was like, oh boy, here it goes. And yet they got here, they stayed here. And in the last election, Florida actually was significantly more red than before, even though I imagine a lot of that influx would have been at least neutral, if not probably, Democrat leaning from where these people were escaping. So, they got here, they bought into it, they went further red. We actually have to maintain that mentality and can never hold up, because we've seen how far they will push it if they ever regain power here.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think, one of the reasons we've seen that occur, let's be clear about it. When people come to Florida, they buy into a way of life. Yeah. It's not just moving for a job or I'm just going to go retire now. I think what you've seen, especially since COVID several years ago, you see a lot of people come here for that way of life in Florida, and then they want to protect it. And people, especially those who are coming from the Northeast, they're comparing to what they left. Yeah. And they're saying, I don't want to see New Jersey. I don't want to see New York. I definitely don't want to see Connecticut or Michigan or Wisconsin. They want Florida. Yeah. And so I think that's why we've been able to see people come down and understand that they have a responsibility to keep the place that they chose the way that it's been.
Yeah, it's why they went there in the first place. And by the way, it's sort of an interesting one, because watching the World Cup for the last month, you see exactly what we're sort of talking about here, but on a grander scale, as it relates to America in general. All these people from other countries around the world there to celebrate their teams and their countries. It's wonderful, but they're like, wow, like America's so much cooler than I thought. Everything I saw on CNN International, which makes, by the way, for those of you who don't know, like CNN International makes CNN America seem like Fox News. It's that radically left, and these people, they come to America, they experience American culture, they experience American food, and they're all amazed. And it seems to be driving the left absolutely crazy, because they spent such a long time creating this marketing campaign of America is this terrible oppressor nation, yada yada, all the BS, and yet when foreigners actually got there, despite what they've been told for years, they're like, this place is awesome. What's going on? I mean, it's almost exactly the same thing on a grander scale.
No, you're right. Look, people are coming from everywhere. And I look, the other piece about seeing it internationally, you're right. They're trying to paint the president as if all he's doing is bringing chaos to America and everything's in upheaval. And then people come and spend, a couple days, a week, a month in our country. And they're like, oh my gosh, when am I coming back? They're probably begging FIFA, hey, just keep the World Cup in the United States every 4 years. So it gives us an excuse to come back and just be able to have great food, have air conditioning in the summertime.
It's nice. By the way, it's funny. I'm in my studio right now. It's really hot today in Florida. And of course, I lost my AC this day, but 364 out of 365 days, I have AC here and it's wonderful. And imagine being like, you're coming from a European country and it's like, oh, wow. Like you have AC? Like, that's one of the things we take for granted is like AC functions here. We all have it except for me in my studio today, but everywhere else is it's hard to believe.
We're a great country. We're a great country. We're the best country. We are exceptional. The world they've seen it multiple times, but now you just have people who are just visiting. They got a chance to see it firsthand. The one guy on X who was just doing like video tours.
Oh yeah, that guy was awesome.
That guy, and then so now I forget his name, but like he went and saw they went to the Gulf of America. They were like traveling through our country, being like, man, this place is awesome. And I think that when other people see that, I think it helps the American people realize that, man, put away a lot of the petty politics for a moment. Our country is great. Let's just celebrate that.
Yeah, I thought the best one I think I saw was it was like a Japanese family, and they go to I think it was maybe in Florida or somewhere, but they go to a gun store that has a range built in, and they're playing with guns, and they were like, "This is the greatest thing in the world." I thought these things were weapons of mass destruction, and I think it's been a great campaign for America because people have finally realized what actually is, and frankly, how much they've been lied to over the last few years.
Yeah, I think for us, as a nation, as people, we really have to lock in and help our young kids, our young men in particular, but also help even some of those moderate Democrats who they're registered Democrat, they're moderate people, they love this country, but they're not quite sure where to go. Yeah. I think we have to make sure that they understand that there's a home for them with common sense Americans who, quite frankly, all live in the Republican Party today. Like, we're common sense people. We just want law and order, safe streets, a sound economy, good job. I want to be able to raise my kids, hang out with my friends, enjoy a good sporting event, and largely just be left alone. Yeah. And I think that's what most people want.
Yeah, and the other side is exactly the opposite. I mean, that's right. Like in our party, on our side, you can actually have a conversation where you disagree about nuance of things and disagree about even major topics. Sometimes party platform things, and that's okay. The other side, you could be 99.9% there, but if you disagree on one little aspect, usually some of the craziest aspects, and you're fully ostracized. So the party of tolerance is anything but tolerant. The Republican Party, turns out, they're the ones that are actually tolerant of different ideas and different people coming together and actually formulating the best concept from all of those opinions, not just taking a blind approach to, this is the narrative and we must stick to it at all costs or you're out.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, we'll argue about it, though.
We'll argue about it. And by the way, but that's the whole point. We're actually able to have that conversation. That it doesn't get you banned. It doesn't get you thrown out of, the party. It stimulates a real conversation to figure out where people actually are in this country, not just blindly following political dogma.
Yeah, you're right. I think that for people who want to know, why be a Republican, I would tell you, I chose being in a Republican Party back in 2010. I chose it, and when I did that, what I realized is that there are people who are just really thoughtful about this country, thoughtful about public policy, wanting to do the right thing, really just want to live in harmony and peace. And that spoke to me and resonated to me. And so through all my years, first as a political activist and now as an elected official, I've always found that people in our party, for the most part, still have that same core about them. They're intellectually curious. They're willing to have long debates. They're willing to read about this subject matter, but they just want the country to operate. They just want it to be free. They want it to flourish. They want other people to flourish. I mean, people in our party, we don't have problems if people in other parties flourish. All we're saying is just don't impose your crazy ideas on everybody and give us no option, give us no way out, don't give us our freedoms. I think that's really the biggest holdup. If you have a crazy idea and you want to do that in your home, okay, that's in your home. But just don't make everybody else have to do it so that way you feel comfortable about the decisions you've made in your life. And that's really what the core of our party and our movement is about. And so, I think it's a special time in the country's history. Let's not waste it. Let's not squander it. Let's take advantage of it and make America greater and greater.
I love that. So Byron, when a family in Florida asks you, why you want this job, what's the first thing you tell them maybe that you're going to fix? Obviously nothing's perfect. Everything can use some improvement. Is it, insurance, housing, cost of living, healthcare? What should Floridians know about, either your top priority or the top few priorities of things that, could use a little bit of work?
The top priority for what impacts every Floridian, insurance rates. Yeah. We got to get our insurance costs down. Everybody's having to deal with it. Even if you don't own your home and you're a renter, you're dealing with it through your rental payment because your landlord's dealing with it. And so that's going to be priority number one. I chaired insurance and banking when I was in the state house. And I spent 17 years in the finance industry. So this is an area where I know a lot about it. We want to make sure that we're changing up some of the regulatory tools to make costs go down for the people of Florida. And there's a bunch of adjustments that we can make. We've not changed the regulations in Florida in about 25 years. And so I think there's definite room for improvement that'll push down costs. The big thing that's an internal government thing that's got to happen, modernization. Like we want to modernize all these agencies. We want to make them very responsive. We want to make sure that they're able to track fraud and get fraud out of the system on a daily basis, not having to wait till something blows up and then everybody's scrambling trying to do press conferences. We want to do all that work early on. So we're going to be doing audits in the first couple of weeks of every agency and come up with a plan about how we modernize them, save taxpayer money, make sure dollars are going exactly where they're supposed to go. So Florida can be the most efficient state in all of America.
Right. Byron, you've been very, open about your faith, about being a young guy who got a second chance and, clearly made the most of it. How does that shape the kind of governor you think you'd be?
What I realize, being a born again Christian is it's not about me. It's really not, man. I'm in a position that I'm in because God has really redeemed my life and really ordered my steps. Try to listen to him all the time. Sometimes I don't, but that's just the human nature in all of us. But it's really about knowing that this thing is bigger than you. I'm in a position I'm in really by his glory. And so that keeps me humble. I've watched people kind of come and go through politics over the years. And the one thing I know is that, everybody in elective office, we're all vapors in time. We're here for a period of time and then we're gone. And that's a good thing. I think it's important for new blood to come in. And so, I don't take it for granted. I understand where I am. Really, really humbled to be there. Like truly, you have no idea. So really, it's about just doing the right job for the people of Florida. And the way I look at it, I'm 47 years old. I moved to Florida 30 years ago. So I'm looking 30 years into the future. And with my time as Florida's governor, just making all the decisions necessary so that in 30 years, when I'm retired and I'm long gone and somebody else is running for office or running government, that I get to look back and just be like, man, Florida is still the best state in the country. And so that's what's in it for me.
So, Byron, where can voters go to learn more, to get involved, to find out, make sure they're voting, not just in a general, but also in a primary? Where's the best place for those people to get that information?
To get the voting information, you definitely want to go. Every county in Florida has a supervisor of elections. Go to their website. In Collier County, ours is colliervotes.com. But there's 67 counties in Florida. Every county has one. I would say go to your supervisor of elections website, find that, Google it, AI it, whatever, and you'll be able to get that information. If you want to know more about the campaign, volunteer, find events, or even help us out along the way, just go to byrondonalds.com. And on my social media, everything's at Byron Donalds. We'll be posting about election times, where to go about voting locations, have links on that as well.
Excellent. And the primary date is August
18th.
August 18th. Okay. So
Coming
Florida, get out there, get involved. Byron Donalds, everyone, and go check out the campaign at byrondonalds.com. Byron, thank you so much. Great being with you last week. Now get back out there and win this thing. Okay.
I will. Thanks, Don. Appreciate you.
Thanks, my friend. Be well. Guys, thanks so much for tuning in. Remember to like, to share, and subscribe so you never miss one of these major episodes, okay? Check us out, not just on Rumble, but on Apple, Spotify podcasts. If your friends get their podcast that way, make sure they are aware of it. Check out our great sponsors down below and in the video description, okay? It takes a lot of guts to support a show like this. Support those who share your values. And as always, guys, remember, stay strong, stay informed, stay engaged, and always stay just a little bit triggered. Thanks a lot, guys. I'll talk to you all again on Thursday.